Well, the day has finally come. Today is, I guess, last night was the night when the Haunted Mansion movie released in cinemas. I didn't go last night because I had a lot of packing to do, but today I'm going. And I don't really review movies that often. I'm not really good at it. I used to, if you were around for back in those old days, review movies, and I wasn't very good at it, and I just took those videos down because they were humiliating because I just talked about nothing for the better part of like 10 minutes. But I do know about the Haunted Mansion. I do know about the Disney parks, and I do know what I like and don't like about the mansion. So I am going to head in with a notepad and a pencil for like the first time in my life and take notes during the movie about what I liked, what I didn't like, and it's not getting good reviews, right? The Haunted Mansion is currently rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. It's sitting about a 40% as I record this. Hopefully I can enjoy it more than the critics, but I find more often than not my opinions tend to align more, I should say, with the critics rather than the fans on movies. Sometimes the fan reviews they're worth noting, but man, I got a bad feeling about this. Hopefully I'm proven wrong. Let's go to the theater. I'm gonna film the whole thing. We're gonna watch the entire movie together. It's gonna be like pirated on this channel. No, I'm kidding. So I'm in the car in my driveway, and Disney announced that the Hatbox Ghost is coming to Walt Disney World, but he's not going to be in the same spot he was at Disneyland right after the attic scene. He's going to be in the endless hallway. He's going to be inside the mansion, and I'm very curious to see how this works. I see a lot of people saying that it's going to break the lore. Very interested to see how they do it. Very interested to see if the animatronic is going to be different in any way. This is next. This looks so good. Benji, my friend, you ought to be proud. This looks amazing. All right, just got back, and 40% on Rotten Tomatoes? Really? Okay, so I have all of my notes right here, and I do briefly also in this video want to talk about the Hatbox Ghost coming to Orlando, and oh yeah, I also think it's fair to say that from this point forward, there will be spoilers. I will be spoiling the movie in this sort of review. I talk about a lot of the things that reference the ride, so if you don't want to see that, thank you for watching. My final take on it though, my final review is that it was good. I don't see why it's a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's actually really solid. The implications, what I think, how I feel about it. But first off, I gotta mention, in the movie, part of my review, no Jean Lafitte reference. I was very upset about that. They do show the blacksmith shop at the very beginning in New Orleans, but that's about it. Anyway, the Haunted Mansion is not a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's so much better. I don't know if I'd say it's a perfect movie. It definitely isn't. There were some things that stood out to me that didn't really come back into the story the way they should have, like Ben's camera. The camera that he developed with his late wife that meant so much to him that it ended up not really doing anything aside from an offhanded comment, is why my channel is called that, about flash photos frightening and disturbing the spirits, which I thought was genius. That was very well done, so props to Disney for that. The ghosts in the movie, by the way, lots of hitchhiking ghosts, not just Phineas, Ezra, and Gus, although they are in the movie. Most of the ghosts, or the featured ghosts that we see, are hitchhiking, okay? And of course, Alistair Crump, or the Hatbox Ghost as I prefer to call him, is telling them to hurry back at the end of the intro segment. Very well done. Nice little reference. No little Leota. We got Leota. No little Leota in the movie though. Oh, the ghost host. This is a very important thing for me to talk about. Okay. So in the Haunted Mansion attraction, Master Gracie is just a guy who is there, who exists. He's a young guy. His last name is Gracie. He does not own the house. He is not the ghost host. In the movie, Master Gracie does own the house. He was the owner of the mansion before it got all spooky and haunted. And the ghost host is also there, but as a separate character. This is like sort of dipping your toes into both of the theories, right? Gracie Manor, Gracie owns the house, but at the same time, there is a separate character removed. The painting that we see in the corridor of doors in the attraction, the ghost host, he says his classic lines. He kind of sounds a little bit like Paul Frees. Two separate characters. I'm glad they didn't make them one and the same, although making it Gracie Manor in the first place is a bit of a to me. And Constance not having a huge part in the attraction. Talking about owners of the house, my headcanon is that Constance is the owner of the house in the parks, but it doesn't matter. It's headcanon. None of that is confirmed anywhere. That's just what I like to think. She is more or less just like a goon of the Hatbox Ghost in this movie. She's not her own character, which is sort of a letdown for me. I thought Constance would have more to do, and her name is Constance Hatchaway. It is Constance. Although she is not the same character in the stretching portrait in the movie, it's a whole other thing. We'll talk about it eventually. Now, making the Hatbox Ghost the big bad was the original plot for the Guillermo del Toro Haunted Mansion, which we were going to get, and it sort of carried over to this new one. The Hatbox Ghost is the bad guy. His name is Alistair Crump, and nice little Easter egg. The Walt Disney World Mansion, a couple hours north of what they said of Louisiana, New Orleans is where the Disneyland Mansion is. The main mansion, Gracie Mansion in the movie, is Crump Manor, which is the Walt Disney World Mansion. Now, is it in New York? I don't know. They said the Valley. If anyone's more familiar with the region, please let me know. But you do have both Walt Disney World and Disneyland mansions in this movie. No Phantom Manor, though, no Mystic Manor, and no references to SEA or anything along those lines. They did reference SEA very passingly, very fleetingly in the Jungle Cruise movie. Nothing here to sort of reflect that. And another thing I want to talk about, there was also, which I appreciate, I don't know if the writers acknowledged the community with this one, but at the very beginning, Rosario Dawson's character talks about how everybody has their theories as to what happened in this mansion, and everything's sort of really up in the air. And that is so reflective of the Haunted Mansion community. Everyone has their headcanons, like I was talking about earlier with Constance Hatchaway. Everyone has their theories about these houses. Are they right? Are they wrong? Doesn't matter. It's just kind of up in the air for everyone. And that's what's so great about the Haunted Mansion. I realize I'm not even talking so much about the movie aspect as I'm talking about how it relates to the ride, but there are homages to the original Haunted Mansion concept, Bloodmere Manor or Captain Gore's Manor, with the wet footprints walking across the ground of when the Mariner is in the room. That is such a deep-seated reference to an early concept for the Haunted Mansion that didn't make it into the ride, that the writers paid attention to and paid homage to in this movie. So you could tell that the people who made this movie were fans of the attraction, with Lafitte's Tavern being featured, with the wet footprint effect being featured, and the ghost host not being Master Gracie. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And also a little Disney Parks reference out there for you fans. I know there's a couple Disney Parks fans watching this video right now. In Crump Manor, when he's when the tour guide is entertaining the guests, he plays It's a Small World on the piano. Just a nice little It's a Small World reference in the Haunted Mansion. I liked it. I was the only one in the theater who was paying attention, but it was good. The cast, of course, of this movie were absolutely great. I think they all showed up and they did their best, especially Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leota. A lot of people I feel like will say it's overacted, the way that she talked as Leota, but I saw it more as she's acting the way that a projection face animatronic would act in the Haunted Mansion. The way she formed her words was very wide and articulate and very, very deliberate. But overall, I think the story of this movie, why is it 40% on Rotten Tomatoes? It's definitely not a 10 out of 10, but 4 out of 10? Come on, it's about dealing with grief, healthy ways of dealing with grief. That's what this movie is about. Ben, Travis, Rosario Dawson's character I'm forgetting about right now, they all sort of deal with their grief in different ways. Even the Hatbox Ghost, he deals with his grief by killing people. Ben is he turns into the shell of his former self. He used to be so happy-go-lucky with his wife, and now that she's taken away from him, he is just depressed, and he finds people to share his grief with in that scene when they're in, I think it's the stretching room, and he's telling them the story of the night that his wife passed. And it's just such an emotional scene that I didn't think we'd get from the Haunted Mansion. Brilliantly acted. It's so good. I don't understand. I feel like I watched a different movie than everybody else. The lesson I learned from this movie was to not panic over Rotten Tomatoes scores. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought if a movie is good, that's up to me to decide, not these people on the internet. Crazy. Now, complaints, you have some ghosts that look like PNGs sort of hovering across the screen, like that. And some ghosts don't look very good. The ones that are physical, the ones that aren't 3D modeled, the ones that are actors who are superimposed sort of ghostly on the scene, they all look great. The PNGs, not so much. And the big CGI battle at the end with the Hatbox Ghost, they don't punch each other. It's not like a fight, but it is definitely very, very busy. There could have been something a bit simpler done with the grand ending to the Mansion movie, but the way they didn't, I didn't hate it. I just feel like it could have been pulled off a little better. And of course, at the end of the movie, the Hatbox Ghost is banished, I believe, to hell, just like the original Eddie Murphy movie. And the mansion, Gracie Manor, becomes the haunted mansion we know, the attraction where all the ghosts are happy to be there. The ghosts are partying, the ghosts are having a good time. It becomes that house at the end of the movie. And everybody's happy. They're eating food, eating lunch, dinner, I can't remember what, in the grand hall. Pickwick's flying above on the chandelier. The ghosts are dancing. The women are leading the men. It's a good time. And you have the barbershop quartet singing Grim Grinning Ghosts. It's a great way to end the movie. And real quick before I end this video, I did want to talk about the Hatbox Ghost at the Walt Disney World Mansion. It's going to go in the endless hallway scene. I don't know where he's going to be positioned, but I just don't feel like this is a very good idea, like it lines up with the lore. I don't think that we're supposed to see physical, and don't worry about Creepy Mickey right there, this is a non-canon video, that we're supposed to see physical ghosts materialize until after Leota does that, right? Until she materializes the spirits and the ghost host tells us that they've received our sympathetic vibrations. It doesn't really fit in with the endless hallway, and I don't know why Disney has made this choice unless it's not going to be just a cut and paste of the Disneyland animatronic at the Walt Disney World Mansion. I hope that's not the case. Maybe he'll appear in some other way. A lot of people are tying it back to the movie, but like I said, different timelines. I'll explain that in a very long video I have coming up, but it's not the same mansion. It's not the same Hatbox Ghost. It shouldn't have the same rules. I don't think putting the Hatbox Ghost animatronic in the endless hallway scene is a very good idea. So there's that real quick. That being said, though, of course, this house is not the same house that is in the Disneyland park. It might be, but it's in a different dimension. I'll talk about that in a future video, but these mansion timelines tend to get a bit twisted in people's heads, and I plan on unraveling that string here in a second. So like I said earlier, I don't really do movie reviews. Those are like my quick thoughts on the Haunted Mansion film. Have you seen it yet? Do you agree with the score that the critics are giving it on these websites, these aggregators? Do you agree with the sort of lower end score? Or are you like me, where you watch it and you're like, I don't see what these critics were talking about? Even though I usually do, like I said, agree with them, it's not that bad. I mean, it's good. It's good. I'd give it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. What are your thoughts on the Haunted Mansion movie? What are your thoughts on the Hatbox Ghost animatronic at Walt Disney World and their plans for it? It's like a 2-in-1 video. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I believe that's the end. Again, not very great at movie reviews. I'm getting better. Maybe I'll review the SEA thing when it comes out. I gotta talk more about SEA here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video, probably Haunted Mansion related. Goodbye.